Welcome back, everyone. Today's topic isn't just about a military base or a few planes gathering on a remote island. No, this is about a storm quietly forming in the middle of the Indian Ocean, a storm that may signal the early tremors of the next World War. The United States is making moves, big moves, and they're not happening in Europe or the Middle East or even the South China Sea. No, this time, the heart of the action is Diego Garcia, a tiny, almost forgotten island that now finds itself at the center of something massive. The question we're asking today is simple, but deeply unsettling. Why is the US preparing like this? What are they expecting? And what's coming next? Let's dive in. Diego Garcia, a small coral atoll in the Chagos archipelago, right in the heart of the Indian Ocean. Most people have never heard of it. It's closer to Mauritius than to anywhere meaningful on a map. But don't let its size fool you. Diego Garcia is one of the most strategically important pieces of land on Earth. The US military has been quietly building up this island since the late 1960s. Back then, Britain handed over control, rented it officially, for 50 years. In 2016, that lease was quietly extended by another 20. And now? Now, something has changed. Something unprecedented is unfolding. Satellite imagery confirms it. B-52 bombers, F-35 stealth fighters, F-15s, fuel tankers, surveillance aircraft, all being stationed there in numbers not seen since the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Massive military transport planes are making non-stop trips to and from the island. 2 aircraft carriers are already nearby. And if that wasn't enough, there are rumors of nuclear submarines stationed just offshore beneath the blue-black depths of the Indian Ocean. This is not routine. This is not normal. This is preparation. Let's take a step back and ask, what does Diego Garcia even mean to the United States? For Washington, this isn't just a base. It's a launch pad, a fulcrum of global projection. From Diego Garcia, the US can strike Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia within hours. It's been used in nearly every major operation since the Cold War, from Desert Storm in 1991 to the bombing of Afghanistan post 9/11 to counter-terror operations across the Arabian Peninsula. But today's buildup, it's not about Iraq, it's not about Syria, it's not even about Iran, it's about China. The Indian Ocean is becoming the new center of gravity in the global power struggle, and Diego Garcia sits like a dagger pointed at the heart of Beijing's energy lifeline. Think about it. China's trade, especially oil, flows through choke points like the Strait of Hormuz and the Malacca Strait. If the US controls Diego Garcia, it controls the shipping lanes China depends on. That's why this little island is such a big deal. And the Americans aren't the only ones who know it. Here's where it gets murky. Recently, Britain, who technically still owns the Chagos Islands, received a formal request from Mauritius to return sovereignty. In other words, to kick the Americans out. The UN has backed this claim. But Washington isn't budging. Why? Because Diego Garcia is no longer just a base. It's a fortress, a command center, a nuclear-era outpost that's just been retrofitted for the age of space warfare. Yes, you heard that right. Not only are US air and naval forces stationed there, but Diego Garcia now houses components of the US Space Force, including units from Delta II and Delta VI, responsible for missile warning systems, orbital defense, and space-based operations. So now we have air dominance, sea dominance, satellite dominance, all centered on this one little island. That's not a coincidence. That's the opening move in a game much bigger than most people realize. Let's talk numbers. The island now boasts a 3,600-meter runway, long enough to launch America's heaviest bombers. 2 aircraft carriers can dock there simultaneously. Billions of dollars have been invested into its development. This is not some emergency facility or backup site, it's a frontline stronghold. And that tells us something. It tells us Washington isn't just preparing for a conflict, it's preparing to win it. So again, what's coming? Why now? Why this much firepower? Let's look at the regional dynamics. Iran and Israel? That flashpoint is simmering. Yemen's Houthis? Still lobbing rockets? Gaza? A humanitarian disaster. But all of that, believe it or not, is background noise. Because while these crises rage on, something else is happening behind the scenes. Peace, or at least a fragile truce, is starting to settle over the Middle East. But peace there may simply be the calm before the storm in the Pacific. Because with the Middle East cooling off, Washington has begun shifting its focus, and all signs point to China, or more specifically, to a war with China. Now, before you call that hyperbole, consider this. China has dramatically expanded its presence in the South China Sea. It's forged deeper alliances with Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Its Belt and Road Initiative is being blocked on every front, from Afghanistan to Africa. And most importantly, it's running out of options. The United States, alongside India, Australia, and Japan through the Quad, has been encircling Beijing both economically and militarily. Add in Diego Garcia, and you now have a literal ring of steel around China. This is what strategists call containment. But containment eventually leads to confrontation, and confrontation can lead to war. So, what happens if this escalates? What happens if Diego Garcia becomes the forward base for a massive preemptive strike? Well, then we're no longer talking about limited conflict. We're talking about World War III. And you know, there's something else most people aren't considering. Diego Garcia isn't just surrounded by planes and ships. It's also protected by advanced missile systems, electronic warfare units, and likely nuclear assets. It may be one of the few places on Earth capable of surviving and operating during an all-out war. In other words, it's a command bunker masquerading as an island. Now here's where it gets political. Back in Washington, the Pentagon is clashing with Congress over these massive new defense bills. Trump is, taking shots at Elon Musk, accusing him of being a Pentagon puppet. Musk, in turn, is threatening to form a new political party, saying the Republicans and Democrats are, well, obsolete. Why does this matter? Because when internal politics get messy, external war becomes a convenient distraction. But more than that, this chaos might actually be part of the plan. As Britain's intelligence services, MI6, leak satellite images of the Diego Garcia buildup, some folks believe the leaks are intentional. A signal, a message, maybe even a warning. And don't forget the tech. F-22 Raptors, F-35S, B-2 bombers, each one worth honestly hundreds of millions of dollars. The skies above Diego Garcia are now buzzing with next-gen warfare. And let's not even get into the destroyers, refuelers, drones, and orbital assets. This is not posturing. This is deployment. So what's the endgame? Let's lay it out. Scenario 1. China folds. It concedes trade routes, accepts containment, and retreats inward. Scenario 2. It fights back. Over Taiwan, over the South China Sea, or over a flashpoint like Kashmir, where India and Pakistan can be easily drawn in. Either way, Diego Garcia is at the heart of the storm. And here's the kicker. If war comes, it won't be limited to the Pacific. It'll ripple across Eurasia, from Turkey to Iran, from Russia to Africa. Supply chains will snap, energy markets will collapse, and geopolitics as we know it will be rewritten. So why is the US preparing? Because it knows something is coming. Because when the Middle East quiets down, the Pacific heats up. Because Diego Garcia isn't just an island, it's a fuse. And when that fuse is lit, there's no going back. Stay alert, my friends. This is just the beginning. If this raised questions in your mind, if you're seeing the pieces move and wondering what's next, then do this. Like this video so more people can see what's really going on. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because we break these stories before they hit the headlines. And drop a comment below. Do you think this is just another drill? Or are we watching the first chapter of something much bigger?